My name is Mike Anderson. I'm a dairy farmer in eastern New York State, and I'm here to talk a couple minutes about the importance of setting up a planter before you head to the field. When I look at the planter, the very first thing I look at is the hitch. Make sure that when you're out in the field that the hitch runs level. The reason that we want the hitch to run level is that the toolbar must be parallel with the ground. With the toolbar parallel to the ground, everything from here back is running at the right angle so that we maintain the correct distances between here and here and here. To make sure that this is running straight, or make sure this is running at the right depth, when this is in the planting position, we check and make sure that this bushing here and this bushing here are running exactly level. And that allows us to have the correct down pressure on these springs, and make sure that the relationship between this coulter and the closing wheels in the back is maintained. What happens if the corn planter is not running level, this disc is going to run down below the seed opener disc, and it's going to create some air spaces and some voids below the double disc, which is going to allow for the seed trench is actually going to dry out. The seeds are going to dry out and not germinate as well. And also, when the nose of your planter is down, it's harder to maintain the down pressure on these wheels and these closing wheels in the back to actually close up the seed. Some of the other things that we look at on the corn planter are the drive chains. We want to make sure that the drive chains are in good shape, so that as the planter goes across the field, that there's not a lot of chatter. And chatter is caused from the chains not turning evenly. Any kind of chatter interferes with in here is the planting unit, and we want this to turn very smoothly so that the seed leaves the seed box, goes through the metering system, out the seed tube in the ground in one very fluid motion. Some of the things that are important when we're prepping a planter is these discs at the correct diameter, so that when they're in the ground they form a V in the ground like this, so that the seed goes down and falls right into the bottom of that V. The importance of that V is that it maintains the depth for all the seeds that are going across the field, so that they're all planted at a uniform depth. There are shims in here that allow us to put those discs closer together, but after the discs get to a certain point, they're so close that they're wearing on the inside of the seed tube, and anytime that there's wear on the seed tube, that the path is going to be interrupted from the hopper unit to the soil. So you want to make sure that this seed tube, or that these discs are touching one another but not touching the seed tube on the inside. When we're out in the field, the amount of pressure that are on these tires are very important, because that controls how much down pressure there is on when we're forming the seed depth, or when we're forming the seed trench. We want it to be firm but not compacted. When it's firm, it allows moisture to wick in towards the seed to help with seed germination. When it's too firm, it actually compacts the side and won't let the roots go outside of the seed trench. They'll all try to grow out through the bottom, so you'll dig up a plant and all the roots will be going in a straight line down through, and then they branch out. So we want to make sure that we have enough adequate pressure on these to form a firm trench. After the seed has made it from the meter, or from the hopper through the meter to the ground and into the trench, we need to make sure that trench is closed tightly so that we get good seed soil contact so those seeds germinate. Okay. A quick way to check to make sure that you have the proper distance or the proper contact is you take just a regular business card or a piece of paper. You start at the top and you slide down until that business card makes contact, until it won't slide anymore, and then you draw a line right on the disc. And then you start from the bottom and you slide it up and you make another line, and the distance between the two lines needs to be 1 to 2 inches. Then you know that you have the adequate spacing in order to perfectly form the bottom of that seed trench. If there's a space in here or a gap, you're going to get a W in the bottom of your seed trench, and the seed could end up dropping down on top of this W or down along the side, and there could be, you know, a ½ inch difference. So you're going to have a difference in seed germination because that is not a perfect V in the seed trench. One thing that you want to make sure is these gauge wheels not only control the depth that the seed is planted, but it also, like I said, it helps form the seed trench. And this, you don't want to be able to, when this is up in the field position, when this planter is in the field, this gauge wheel actually comes up and stops, and that's what controls the depth of the seed. But it also forms that seed, helps form the seed trench. You don't want to be able to put your fingers in here. So there are a series of shims right here that you can take out and move this wheel closer to the disc. And it will get to a point where you can't move it any closer, and then you need to replace this assembly here. Obviously we have a tire that needs some air on this planter. Tire inflation is important because the more the air that the tire has in it, the bigger the diameter. The bigger the diameter, or the smaller diameter, the difference, the wheel actually turns the rotation a little faster or slower depending on the diameter, and will actually change the number of plants that you have or the amount of fertilizers you're putting on. So the tire pressure is extremely important. The other thing that's important is making sure there's no air in the hydraulic system, so that when you put the planter into the ground, that it drops at an even rate and stays level with the ground as you're going across the field. Another thing that's important on the corn planter is that you don't have any side draft. This planter is good and tight. If you have side draft, then you go on this side. You need to replace these bushings here.